You are listening to the ReRACEables podcast. Hello and welcome back to the ReRACEables podcast, episode 49, closing in on that 50 mark. We're joined tonight here by Nicole and Lizzie. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
They're really enthusiastic here as we hit the after 11 hour.
I thought you were going to just breeze on past and
So, speaking of the time, can we just have a moment to acknowledge that Survivor happened 8 to 9 and then Amazing Race was 10 to 11 because the Love Boat, like that had to be in between. Any red flags there for anybody?
Listen, this is less of a comment on Amazing Race and more of a statement of how desperate they are to get viewership for Love Boat. They've got to compete with Bachelor in Paradise is on now.
ABC.
Not like if that's Monday, Tuesday, but they in the dating reality world, you can't compete with Bachelor in Paradise. That's gold. It's amazing. The season's been great so far, but
Yeah.
we're not here to discuss that.
I agree. It's all about ratings. Because I don't think CBS has like a dating show like this. It's all either streaming platforms or ABC, I think. So I think this is.
What about Love Island?
What's Love Island on? Streaming platform, right?
It's on CBS.
Oh.
CBS?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Love Island people were on the Challenge USA. That was on CBS. I was just a little nervous. I didn't know if that was indicative of anything with the Amazing Race. I'm hoping that you're both correct, and I'm hoping that it's just them trying to throw a line in the water for a love reality show and using two of their staple shows to kind of sandwich in the newbie. Let's hope for that. Back to the Amazing Race, season 34, episode 3. That was tonight. It's a mega leg. Can we start there as far as discussing the episode? Where are you at with the mega leg?
I think I'm a fan of it. To me, it seems, I don't know really what the point is. If you're going to end the episode anyway, you might as well eliminate someone. Like, that's what I do like about Survivor. And I don't know why I even just said this, but it's like, I like that at the end of every episode, someone's going home. Like, it keeps things moving. It keeps a good pace. And with a mega leg, you're kind of like, okay, let's go. Like, we know there's so much more to happen. And it just seems slower for some reason to me. So I don't know if I'm a big fan of it.
Or like, why not just have a non-elimination leg instead of mega?
Yeah, that's kind of what this is, really.
That's
right.
What it is.
Is the non-elimination better or worse than the to be continued leg? I guess that's kind of what we're talking about. But I'm with you, Lizzie. Like, I don't really see what the purpose of the mega leg is.
A non-elimination leg would be better. I agree with Nicole. It's like the anticipation and the like emotional roller coaster of like, oh my God, we're last. Oh my God, we're still in. You don't get that with a mega leg. Everyone's just like kind of in for the long haul, which they're already on anyway because they signed up for the show.
Yeah.
So the emotional roller coaster of a non-elimination leg is much more fun to watch, in my opinion. Hear that, CBS?
Plus, I feel like with the mega leg, it might be better suited for 5 teams. Right, 5 teams can complete 2 detours, 2 roadblocks, 2 U-turns, whatever they want to throw in there, a lot more efficiently in an hour than 10 teams, where I feel like we're spending 8 minutes of airtime watching Glenda and Lumumba suck it up on not reading the clue, or 15 minutes on 8 of them trying to assemble a bike, Ducati, which is cool, but it's by minute 6, 7, 8, it seems to be dragging, right? Where if it's 5 teams, maybe it's a little bit quicker and you can get all of it in 1 hour.
I feel like it probably seemed like it was dragging more this time because we knew it was a mega leg. Like if they had a finish line to get to right after they were done with the bikes, I think it would have been more exciting, like we were saying.
Right, and is there any way that a mega leg could be more interesting, like having a midpoint where some other teams, like there's a cutoff if you don't do it by this time, or you have to have be in the first 5, otherwise you have to go do a speed bump or something like that to kind of detour you and make it even more mega. Something, I feel like something was missing is what I'm really getting at.
Yeah. To me, it just seemed like a normal episode because it was an hour. Maybe I would have felt differently if we were still watching, if it was 2 hours back to back, which is what I did think was going to happen.
So we did come to the first clue, which was again a typical Amazing Race staple of stick shift driving, where I don't know how these teams don't prepare for this. I don't care if you have to go rent a car that's stick shift. Go do it and don't suck at it. Lewis, how could you not know how to reverse and have Michelle push the damn car? Like, can we know how to do this, please?
Agreed. It seemed like a lot of people struggled with it. More disappointing. I'm trying to remember if Abby and Will struggled because they are quote unquote super fans, and I feel like a super fan would not have struggled. I can't remember now. I should have paid attention more.
I think the only thing that they were struggling with is the traffic jam. Let's go to the first detour of the Mega Leg, which we saw, which was Head of the Class versus the Big Cheese. Why do we think most people chose Head of the Class? 7 out of the 10 teams did. Why so many?
I was thinking, if it were me, right? We always do this game where we say, okay, what would you choose? If it were me, I would probably go with Head of the Class, because to me, it seemed like the easier thing to do, because you already, like, I've taken an anatomy class in college. I know what a liver looks like. You have a general like background knowledge that could get you through. However, I think the cheese one was actually easier because of, them. You have to wait for the next class to start. You can't just do it. And then if you mess one up, you have to take the whole class again. And they give you more words than there are spaces. And because of those little things, it made it more challenging than it seemed, I think.
I agree. And I think I was wondering if anybody was going to switch. I thought that who was it? Team Jamaica. I thought that they were going to switch at some point because they were like, oh, we messed this up again. Oh, we messed this up again. I was like, if that were me, switch, boom, out of there. Nobody did, so I assume you can still do that. I don't know if we've seen anybody do that in recent seasons. I'm sure we have, but
yeah, I feel like the Big Cheese, whatever you read, it was still the physical challenge to do.
Yeah.
And I think it told you had this cart to wheel it on. And so I feel like Michael and Marcus, Lewis and Michelle, Derek and Claire, especially Derek and Claire, they even said in the episode, oh, well, this is the physical challenge. And typically they're more straightforward. And they sounded like ReRACEables podcast guests, which we hope we can get them. But they sounded like what we would have said, or what we have said in previous episodes of talking this out, is that it's just pretty straightforward. You put the cheese on the cart, you navigate to wherever you need to go, and that was it.
Yeah.
Class, it's kind of boring. Who wants to go to a class and hear a lecture
While you're on the Amazing Race, yeah.
Yeah. You're in Italy too. I would say that would probably nudge me also. Like, let's go cut some cheese. Not that way, but like, let's go get some cheese cut here and let's go do that and just physically do the challenge and move it along. But
I think if I had to pick, I was thinking about this while watching it. Assuming my partner was Josh and we were on this race, I think we probably would have done the cheese, because the logic of being in control of your own time would have overpowered the physical ability, the physicalness of having to cart the cheese around the streets, which actually didn't really end up looking that hard. But I couldn't imagine Josh being okay with sitting and telling somebody else telling him how long he had to spend doing something on the Amazing Race. I just don't see that happening. So in order to be in control of our own destiny, I think we would have done the cheese.
Then we go from there to the Ducati factory roadblock. I really felt like this kind of seemed very hard, actually. How many people have a motorcycle? How many people have ridden a motorcycle? How many people have worked on cars? Worked with not only just tools, but putting together wheels and things like that. It seemed very foreign to many of them. But the bigger thing that stood out to me is at this point in the leg and this point of the season, I feel like the question that is the right one to ask is like, who's the most disappointing person so far?
Most disappointing.
Yeah, because I have one answer that, and this is why I'm even asking this question as more so than asking about the roadblock, because we know what the roadblock was, but
I know who it is.
I say I have an answer too.
Okay, should we go 1, 2, 3 and say it?
yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Claire was my second. She was
Who'd
my
you
second.
say?
I said Rich.
All right, you go first with Rich then.
I don't know. And it might just be because his partner is Dom, but it seems like he is that baby that has been pulled along on this race. And she's like, go on, honey, you can do it. Like he's like, has to be like handheld doing everything. And I'm like, I don't know if it's her talking to him that way but he couldn't drive the stick shift. He's slow on challenges. He has to be told where to go and what to do. I'm like, think for yourself for like a second, or she needs to be quiet and like let you say anything. I don't know. I'm just like, oof, so frustrated with him. But I see you guys' point.
You feel that in your heart too, not just your mind and your thoughts and your words, but in your heart. Yeah, yeah.
I
But
do.
listen, she makes him feel good enough. So, but that's great for them, but not for us as the viewer. That he'd be up there as well. That's not too far off. Nicole, why is Claire the most disappointing?
She's the worst. She does not know her strengths and weaknesses, and then she tries to like, I think it comes from a place of like guilt and insecurity of like wanting to prove herself since she messed up the last one so badly, but then she just like digs herself into a deeper grave by messing this one up. And then poor Derek is on the sideline, just like he can't even watch how bad she is. And like it just
We
makes
can't watch it.
wonder,
We know how he feels. Oh
like,
my
will he ever step up next round and say, like, no, I'm putting my foot down. I'm doing this roadblock.
Yeah. I agree. I think also the hype of that team, like Derek and Claire coming from Big Brother, there's a lot of clout and attention surrounding them. And so I feel like we've put them so high, and so they have farther to fall. Whereas like I feel like Rich and Dom we're not, so.
And they probably put themselves on that pedestal. I think you're right, Lizzie. They must have come in. They definitely exhausted their resources. Will and James come to mind. And look, it's yodeling and it's putting together a Ducati. Again, these are totally random, insane things. But Claire, I mean, she has no musical ability. She doesn't really problem solve from those challenges that great. Like she did take notes in the Ducati one at least, so that was good. But I don't. I wanted more from her, and I guess that's why I'm the most disappointed in her. I felt bad again for Derek because this is twice now in a row that he's sitting there doing this for 30 minutes on screen and probably longer in real time.
Oh yeah.
Shame on you, Derek. How do you not step up and be like, I got this one. I cannot watch this again. I cannot go through this. Especially because too, like you get to this roadblock and you're at a Ducati factory. They're not going to put you on a motorcycle to race it. That would be a disaster. So putting it together, plus you see all the bikes, like, and maybe he sucks at it too. But at some point, if Nicole would have been struggling like crazy with the yodeling, and we barely got through that leg, there's no way I'm not stepping up and saying, Nicole, no. I will put the Ducati wheel, whatever, together. I'm not going to let the struggle happen again.
Wouldn't you argue that yodeling is a different skill set than building a Ducati? Like, I
Yeah,
understand taking a roadblock and being like, you did the last one, I'll do this one if it's an even thing. But like, if you are super good at building motorcycles, but Nicole was like, no, 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 I set out the last one, I'll do this one. It's like you have to reassess what your strengths are. So going back to, yeah, I guess what you said, she doesn't even know, it seems like,
It
what
seems
those
like it
are.
wasn't considered of like what skills are involved in
Right.
this. It was just like, oh, I messed up the last one, so I want to do this one to like make up for it. And it's like, no, you got to think, have you ever built anything?
Also,
Ever?
I feel like that's very selfish thinking. That's not team-oriented thinking. That's very self-oriented thinking. And they're gonna run themselves into a wall if they keep going like that.
but isn't that reality TV people thinking?
I think that's Big Brother thinking. I've never seen the show, but I think it's like you play with for yourself, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like Survivor. Yeah, like Survivor.
Or even Survivor people. Like this is competitive people. I get it that Claire is competitive, and I like that. But at some point, you like you said, Nicole, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to be self-aware to know when you're on tilt, when you're not thinking clearly, and when you're trying to double down on something that it's just not a good time to do that.
Yeah.
And trust your partner. And like Derek is, I'm sure, capable of thinking logically through following the directions to put Ducati together.
Yeah.
Because you saw how quickly Claire went from, oh my God, here we are again, and I'm screwing it up. On the flip side of that, we have our most disappointing, but through 2.5 legs of the race, who's the most impressive? Or who's impressing you at this point?
Emily and Molly, but only as of this leg.
Yeah, I have to agree.
The last couple of legs, I was like, they're doing how I thought they would do. When are you gonna be out already? But they stepped up this leg. I'm color me impressed.
To me, there's sound bites of not sure how to be a sister, right? Because they've had 36 years of not knowing each other and one or whatever it is, less than two of knowing that they are twins. They're still learning they're each other's weaknesses and each other's strengths. Maybe not. It was the most impressive moment of the show. Maybe not the most impressive person or team yet, but the most impressive moment of the show was Emily putting the Ducati together. The single mom putting Legos and IKEA furniture together. I thought that was charming and but brilliant, and using her skills in everyday life to be applied to something that she called easy and almost felt like she was doing something wrong because other people sucked so bad.
Yeah.
So that was a really impressive moment.
She
That
even
moment.
beat like the guys that worked on cars before, that were like familiar with the tools that they were using.
The other one that I have to say, and it's scaring me a little bit now, is Michael and Marcus, who I had ranked dead last. Maybe out of some Mike and Mo cop to now military guys, there was too much of a connection there, but they're doing great. They are motoring through everything, and they had a lead in the last two legs, or they got a lead, and they're keeping their lead. And there seems to be a good strength of theirs in navigation and in this new format that we're seeing with the race, where the airports are taken out of it, and kind of that all aboard catching everybody up element is not quite there, and the screwing up on traveling more abroad is not really happening, because at least through this first three legs, it's kind of in one place in one city. And so it's a lot of map reading and getting from place A to place B via car. And that seems to be a great strength of theirs above some other teams. So it seems like it's an easy one for them to be front running, and they're doing a heck of a job. I just hope that they don't keep this going for another 9 legs and really make me look stupider than I already do.
That's how I feel about Emily and Molly. We all have them so poorly ranked. I'm like, ooh.
What do we want out of the rest of this leg?
Hopefully the demise of Dom and Rich. I mean, they gave us a little teaser of it. I hope it just fully is the end, because I've had it with listening to the nonsense that they spew. I mean, come on, with the
Meditating,
it's just
sending energy.
I'm all for positive thinking, manifesting, but doing it in that manner, you look like a cartoon. It's stupid. It's just silly.
I agree. I'm looking forward to their demise as well. Little unsuspecting demise of Glenda and Lumumba this week, Lizzie.
I know. I can't say I'm surprised. I had them as a very middle of the pack kind of team, and they're performing that way. So for me, right on track with where I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
Because they were doing so good. I think it was in the last episode. And now they're doing so bad. And I'm like, well, that's fine.
And what's the old rule that they broke?
Read the clue. They caught themselves though. I was happy they did. They didn't go on for too horribly long without reading it, but I was like, long enough. Should have caught it.
Yeah, you have to at some point realize that if you're running around Bologna and you're asking kiosk store owners for directions and you're not getting anywhere, we did something wrong. Something's wrong here. So I'm glad also we saw a little bit more of their newness and newlywedness than just, hey, he's shorter and she's taller and that's about it. I was glad to see a little adversity hit them.
Yeah.
Made them a little more interesting because they're in the bottom of the pack and they were racing against Rich and Dom and they still are, and now they're in dead last. And I find myself rooting hard for Glenda and Lumumba to make a comeback and oust the Murfairies.
I liked his point about listening to the lecture, and even though it was spoken in English, because the man spoke with such a thick Italian accent, he couldn't even identify the words because of his pronunciation of humorous. He's looking for humorous. He's looking for a word that starts with E.
Well, luckily I speak Italian, so I understood it quite well.
Right.
But I could see how that would really trip some people.
Right.
Well, Tom, it reminded me of us in Greece and trying to follow the stops on the train when they announce what stop it is, versus like trying to find it on like the little blinking light map.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were like, if not for that little blinking light, we wouldn't know where we are, because I can't even understand what that word is. I can't even identify it.
Yeah, it was hard. Or just the color of the track map on the train that we were on was the lifesaver too. That was, any little thing like that can throw you off, and Imarus would be that exact thing. So we'll pause there. I think we're going to release this episode tomorrow, hopefully by tomorrow, but we'll come back for part 2 of the Mega Leg coverage next week after episode 4. I want to thank Lizzie. I want to thank Nicole for joining me tonight. Hopefully the Amazing Race can be back on in its regular time slot soon, 9 to 10 after Survivor. So this way we're not burning the midnight oil here, but nonetheless, we'll do what we need to do here on the ReRACEables podcast. That's just what we do. And I'm very thankful for people to do that with me. So thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media. Check us out on YouTube, follow, and subscribe there. And check us out on Instagram. I'm really trying to put together some fun, real things when it comes to posting there now. So, but thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time on the ReRACEables podcast.